Okay, on to the actual task that we have to do. So, we are going to be doing a series of mock interviews. Unfortunately, ideally what we wanted was the actual end user. If you can get actual end users, and those end users are not you, so not for your own dissertation. If it's for your own dissertation, I have to be your mock interview. I have to be your interviewee. But if you are interviewing for something else and you have actual users, that's fantastic. We'll do that. But most of you will not be in that situation. In other classes, I've actually had actual data from actual users, which we had to actually clean, and then in the end, you actually interviewed the final end users. So we're going to do a mock interview in about a second, but later on for P2, you're going to interview me about your task, and I'm going to pretend to be your end user, and you are going to be extracting information from those interviews about how to design your system. Do not say, hey, do you like this visualization? It's not about a matter of small talk or anything like that. You're trying to extract information from me. And if it's not from me, you're trying to extract information from an actual end user. That's what the job is. So, normally for an interview, the big things you always want to have? You want to have a designated note taker and a designated leader. The person who is asking questions and talks. The most sociable person talks. The person who's taking notes shuts the heck up. Not always, but you should have different roles. The act of writing stuff down takes away your concentration. You can't do it, or at least you're better than me if you can. Normally you need to be prepared, so you'd want to know about the person you're interviewing a little bit at least to find out, so you can ask meaningful, useful questions. But not only that, but have some questions prepared in advance. And then throw them away if you don't need them, right? I always have way more questions than I'm ever going to ask, and I don't use them. But the act of making the questions means you don't go, do you like stuff? Right, you don't want to get into that situation. Having the questions gives you a crutch in case things go wrong, or in case you don't have a fluid communication. Most times, you do not know where you're going. Let me be very, very clear about this one. You may have some clue where you're going. You don't know where you're going. Every time I've had students where they're like, I know what my system is going to be. It's going to be X. And they talk to me and then they find out it's wrong. It's amazing that we're always wrong about our assumptions about systems or what people need. So keep an open mind. Don't try and force me or force somebody into a particular viewpoint. We want to start slow, safe, personal. So a little bit of small talk, just getting people warmed up, getting them comfortable talking to you. You don't go, question 1, what is the no, talk. So how are things going? So why would you think that? Or, oh, so can you tell me a bit more about this hobby of yours? Oh, that's interesting. So so did you start that recently? Like you're just trying to be very personable. You're trying to be very nice about it. You want them to feel safe, that they can tell you what you want, like that they feel open to telling you stuff, not judged by you. You want to coax down information, not hammer them. It is not a cross-examination for, in a courtroom. You're not a lawyer. You're trying to coax out information. You're trying to get information. You're not trying to hit them. And I love a good grand tour question. Now, it doesn't always work, but keep it in mind as one of the tools in your toolbox. The grand tour question is, especially the early stages, you don't make it so open that they don't give you, so do you like this? Yep. Okay, that's not useful. That's really way too open. Do you like this system? Yeah, it's good. No, that's too open. They don't even bother trying to fill in the gaps. A grand tour question might be something like this. So tell me a bit more about how you got started in, splunking. Completely open. You're talking about the early stages, sure, when they got started in splunking, but you're hoping that they fill in a whole bunch of gaps that you didn't even think about, that they tell you things that you were not planning on asking them about. You're hoping that you get a general view of the situation, not, so how often do you go splunking? 5 times a week. Or you don't go splunking 5 times a week, but splunking is going into caves, descending into caves and crevices in the ground. In case you're wondering. So you're wanting an open-ended question that gets them talking, that makes them feel a bit more comfortable, that gets them answering things that you wouldn't even think to ask. And when they ask, and then when they say something that you wouldn't think to ask, that's the time to start probing later. Let them keep talking, but afterwards, follow up and find out more about whatever the case is. What don't you know? You're asking what you don't know, not what you do know. So, if you know that they go to the store 3 times a week, you don't say, how many times do you go to the store each week? You know the answer. Why are you bothering to ask them? You're trying to figure out why they go to the store 3 times a week, or what do they do in the store when they go. You let the interviewees wander because you don't want to. You're not forcing them onto a particular path, but if they're like me and they tend to ramble a little bit, you got to be careful. You can try and pull them in a little bit. So just you're trying to show with your body language. So you're trying to give them ask them another question. So hopefully they'll get back on task soon enough. Number one of the biggest things, and maybe it should be the very first thing that we have here, is to listen and to really listen. That's why you don't have a note taker and a designated leader. Why you have the two, not one. Because while you're taking notes, it doesn't look like you're listening. Even if you are listening and they know you're listening, you tell them you're listening, it doesn't. You're doing something else, and subconsciously they're thinking you're not listening. So your job is to be empathetic and to listen to them and, oh, okay, yeah, oh, that one. No, you don't have to make sounds the entire time. But you're trying to show that you actually are paying attention. I really miss that we can't do this term. Normally when we do this exercise, I go around, people flail away at this, and they do sorry, but not a great job at the initial interviews with each other. And then I go around and I start talking to people. And without them knowing it, I pull every one of those things out on people. I get them to pull out all this information that the other partner didn't ask about whatsoever, and I probe this. I just pull out all this information about their hobbies without them knowing, and I go, and by the way, I was using all the tricks that we were talking about. They're like, oh my God, you were interviewing me? Yeah. It shouldn't feel like an interview. It should feel like you're having a conversation and you just happen to get all this information from them. You're attentively listening and you're trying to find out what they know about. You're not looking for, hey, so do you think we should use a multidimensional scaling algorithm on this thing? Right? You're not. So how much data do you think you're going to have here? You're trying to figure out the task. Get the technology out of there. What are they doing? You could ask them how much data they have. Sure, that is pertinent. But you're not asking for the solution. You're not finding the solution. You're trying to find the task. Afterwards, write down your ideas, write down your impressions right away. If you don't think you did a good job, write it down. If you thought you did a great job, but the person was being coy or wasn't telling you straight answers, write it down. If you thought there was a lot of cruft in the answers or that the person didn't know what they were talking about, write it down. That's fine. If I was being argumentative and being a jerk trying to screw up your system, write that down. That's part of your takeaways. You are supposed to be the visualization or the data analysis expert, not the person you're talking to. You're trying to figure out what you build for them to help them do their job. You don't want to. You're not asking them what viz they want, what they want to build, how they're going to build it. Your job is to pry and figure out what they do so that you can build that. So that's the real workaround. Is you don't want to know. You're not just saying, "Oh, would you like this?" You are saying, "What Tell me about your experience." So my supervisor did a series of experiments with architects. And so what she did was she would go into an architectural firm and just watch and take notes with people doing these architectural team meetings and how they worked as a group, how they passed off blueprints, how they talked it out. And then afterwards, talk to them about their design process and how they went about doing it. She didn't ask, what system do they want? Do you want a wall-mounted display with all this kind of information on it? No, she wanted to know what they were doing so that she could build a system that works. To figure out the task, not the system. Okay. So here is what you're going to be doing. Think about a hobby or a course you're taking. Hobbies better. I like hobbies. You're more passionate about them. You're going to team up in a group of 2. If you can't find somebody, post something on Piazza maybe, or we'll make a Piazza thread saying, hey, I need a partner for this. And find a time and place that you can talk to somebody. Not face-to-face, virtually, but still talk to somebody. You can also do it face-to-face if you're in the same house. Okay. And we're going to talk to people. So we'll talk to each other to figure out how the visualization can help you. But first, we need to understand the task. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to pair up, and at worst, a group of 3. Much better to do a group of 2, by the way. And you're going to ask questions. You're going to find. The one person's going to interview you. The interviewees think about questions you would ask that they're not asking you, right? Is this a pertinent question that they're asking you? Did they, is there some kind of feedback you could give them? And you could provide the feedback later. But the interviewer asks a bunch of questions, tries to open them up, tries to make them feel comfortable, tries to find out about their hobbies and the data, that kinds of things that they're using for their hobbies. So hobbies and the data related to their hobbies. Like if they watch TV, how much TV are they watching? What kind of streaming channels are they using? How many hours are they watching? How do they choose their shows? That sort of thing. Okay, so break into groups of 2, discuss the domain task, and clarify the task, and classify the tasks. What kind of thing are they doing? Are you discovering? Are you presenting? Are you enjoying? Are you recording? Are you deriving? We want to figure out what the task itself is. Is it low level, high level? This is StatsGo stuff here. The low level tasks, can you figure it out what kind of tasks that they're doing for low level? What kind of mid-level tasks are they? It's a bit ambiguous, but not really. Or high level is really ambiguous. It's an open search space. I need to find a movie to watch tonight. How do I find a movie to watch tonight? It's the first one I see? Right. High level. So you're trying to interview them about what their task is. Then, in the same group of 2, you're going to create a low fidelity interactive, let's get rid of the word interactive. You'll draw it on a piece of paper. It says doodle some crap up on a piece of paper, get a piece of paper, doodle something up for them, and sketch out what you think that the task would be and what they could use, what kind of visualization they could use for that task. And then talk them through it to make a higher fidelity interface with them. So clean it up, get a ruler out, talk to them, see if they, talk to them to see if they think that visualization is right or how they can improve it. Then you're going to take photos and post it on the Google Drive. So you'll post all your photos, the sketches, all that kind of thing, even your interview notes if you want. Sure, interview notes on the Google Drive. Just throw it in a Google Doc and just put everything in there. Make sure your names are on the Google Doc. And hopefully, yeah, there you go. And then afterwards, switch roles and do the same thing. So I'll keep that on there. Switch roles and do the same thing. So if you were the interviewee, now that you're the interviewer. This takes practice. God knows how many times I've interviewed people. And so this is the act of, you can even interview your siblings or family members or something else if you want, just to get even more practice. This requires practice, and then later you're going to interview me about your system, and I'm going to pretend to be someone that would be actually using your system. Hopefully that can do that. If you're doing hardcore data mining thing, I'm going to be in trouble. So this is the first step. This is our practice, our warm-up, and then you're going to interview me for P2, and then, so hopefully P2, there you go, before or on or before October 7th. We have a spreadsheet for you to sign up with your group project, and come prepared with some questions and take notes while we're talking. It's going to be about 15-20 minutes. I tend to talk long, and we're just trying to figure out what the task is if your system is actually going to solve the problem, right? You have an idea for your system, but you don't know if the actual problem is the actual problem. And that's what this interview part is supposed to be for. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to stop my video here. Go get together in groups, do the mock interview, and post your answers or post your responses on the Google Drive. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye.